Should we go back to some questions for like 10 minutes while people are also filling in the feedback form? And
and also if anybody's got any questions from the first presentation.
Yeah, that's what I thought we could start with.
Sure.
Yeah, so if I can kick that off on Scaled Agile Framework. Cheryl and Dawn, I'm not sure if you're still on. I can have a look in.
Yeah, we're still here.
Yeah, hello.
Drinking gin, but we're still here.
So absolutely, you deserve a gin right now. But a question from me, which is, I guess, a couple of questions, which is, first of all, like I cannot imagine the scale that you're trying to operate at across all these different, not just departments, like in units of the defence in the UK, the Navy and Air Force, and hundreds of projects going at once. It's just insane. But fundamentally, does it work?
Yes, it does work. But as I say, I mean, I think we try to convey over there that it's about a scale tool. Because Dynamics, no offense to people intended, because Dynamics, you've made a decision on your tool, you're focusing on the product. So it is all about, in my view, it is all about getting the right people in the room. And we have gone on a curve where people have sat there going, I don't get it, I genuinely don't like it, me included, as I say, I came from Waterfall. It's about if you get them to understand the process and see the benefit of Scaled Agile, as in, look, here's a product and here's your benefit this week, because the approvals process that we've digitalized in CAMS, that's a year rotation of approvals. So that document goes in and doesn't come out again to the following year. So that's how long it takes things to go through. So if you can start introducing benefit quickly to a team, they love it and they love being involved very, very early on. But the hierarchy in the MOD, you have to genuinely do things like say, please don't come in uniform. Please don't send that person. Please, you have to be really robust and say, no, I can't have you in the room because it's not you that feels the pain. The colleague, your subordinate, feels the pain, but he won't talk because you outrank him. And that is the fun we have. And then, with the MOD, and I think this is the challenge we have with all our designs across the platform, is that we have Tisky get it, but when people come in to support us, what they don't get is that we have separate funding pots. So all those TLBs are top level budget holders, and they are under pressure to constantly hand back money that has been approved. So they're not going to share their funds, they're not going to share their resources, they're going to give nothing away, they want to do it their way. And you've got to not break down those barriers. We're not, we've got no magic wand. We've got to bring them to the party and show them that by joining in, it works and that they can get it. And it's really hard work. I'm not saying it's been easy, but it is about showing them. It's not about the tool and you follow this agenda and that agenda. It's about showing them how quickly can you realise the benefit. But things like, not to dilute the conversation, but things like the Microsoft platform doesn't cater for an organisation like Mod, because it says, oh, there's your bucket of your flows. Well, we do run out of flows, but who do I tell is going to pay for the new ones? The person that's used them, the person that wants you. And that's what causes us a lot of challenges, is we have to put extra layers of governance over the top. And that's why we're a release train rather than just agile, because you bring in a new function, Power VA, Power Virtual Agent, that's lovely. But who do I say pays for which drawdown on that bot iteration? Is it DBS, the people function? Is it commercial? Who's paid for the license? It's Mod, but they all so protectively protect their money pot. And that's why we have to do with the safe and say, no, benefits for all. And it's a nightmare, especially with the greatest respect to the Microsoft licensing model. It is fun.
Well, you're one of the first people I've heard say that they respect the Microsoft licensing model. I cannot imagine how difficult that side of it is. It's all about people, isn't it? And I think that's what I see being the most difficult thing, is kind of getting hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, on board this kind of process. and having them trying to work together. Like the project I'm on, that we're about to go into big room planning, they call it, which is the program iteration for the next 3 months.
Yeah,
two solid days on Teams next week. Really looking forward to that. But like I don't know how you would scale that across. That's across like I don't know. 4 trains and probably a couple of dozen teams. How you do that across hundreds and hundreds of people, I don't know. My hat is obviously absolutely. I had another question, but I have seen that Neil Benson is who was on the call and listening to your excellent talk, had a question there. I don't know if Neil, you want to come in, or I can read a question for you.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Cheryl and Don. Great presentation. I'm just wrapping up a project. We've got 4 or 5 delivery teams. There's about 120 people in the program altogether. I'm just wondering what kind of size of project, I don't know how you measure size, is suitable for SAFe, and when does the overhead of SAFe become too much? There must be a minimum size at which it's not practical. Do you have any point of view on that?
So trying to dig back to the memories of the training, because what I don't do is follow it rigidly. As I say, I get stuff done. You need to decide, are you talking a release train or are you talking a solution train? A solution train is 2, 3, 4 multiple release trains, and then you just obviously scale to suit. So you get a solution engineer sitting across the top, and then you just got to, it's all back to planning. It's all about having the plan clearly structured, so you can scale it up to huge amounts. I mean, when I did my release train engineer training, there was a guy there from Finland. He was running dozens and dozens of release trains at the time. But it's all about having, I think it comes back to educating everybody and saying, this is what you're working towards, this is how the framework works, so everybody pulls in the right direction and has the energy to take it forward. And then you just scale, it's a bit cliche, but you just scale to suit, and you just got to decide as a team, also logistics, does it work for you to do the cadence all at the same time, or does it work for you to split it and have it staggered? Only you as a team can decide that, but it's about having, and I keep using this word robust, but it's about having robust people there that know the format and the scale of the framework and the product. So they've got an idea and they understand the customers, but have the right people in the room so you can completely scale it up, and then just pragmatically say, right, you're a release train, but you've got a robust senior responsible owner that's feeding into the solution train. And for me, I find that the key bit is spending some time. Every PI planning I do, and Cheryl will attest to this, I do 5 or 10 minutes explaining what we're doing, as in how does PI planning work, and then everybody's involved. When we first did this way back when, 2.5 years ago, I can clearly remember people were, this wasn't on iHuxley, this was on another project, were walking out the room because they just didn't get it. They didn't like it, they didn't respect it. And you've got to make sure that everybody's got the right attitude and energy in that room, and then it works. It is bloody exhausting. It is exhausting. We do it in a day, but that's because we're a smaller team. But it is exhausting, hence the night out afterwards. But you can scale it up massively, but you need a very, very, very good solution engineer to drive it if you're going that big. Does that answer your question, or have I waffled?
It was more about scaling it down. How small down can it scale?
Oh, well, you can get, well, it goes down as far as you just take it down to Agile. So at the moment, because of COVID, Darling MOD lost all its funding for a lot of projects, and we've gone down to 1 delivery, which is CAMS. We've got the enablers, which is my core team. So we're doing all the security assurance piece that goes on. But we're mindful constantly of the bigger picture. So the last one, we invited people to come and listen in. So there were still people in the room, but to be fair, there was probably officially 2, maybe 3 very small teams in the room. But we were poised, ready to bounce off. Like I say, at the risk of being cliche, it is scaled, but it does work.
stuff. Thank you. We used an alternative scaled framework called Nexus for scaling our program, which is just it's multiple Scrum teams effectively and how to coordinate those.
Cool. I haven't come across that one myself. So.
I can see there was a question from Joe. Could somebody else pick that up while I go off and do something related to feedback?
I can ask it if that helps.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, hi. I'm just a bit curious in terms of because obviously SAFE seems to be quite a complicated thing, but then there's obviously the complication with the MOD. You've got security clearance, official secrets act. So obviously without divulging anything too sensitive, I'm just curious in terms of what practical day-to-day challenges that brings to the bear in terms of organising the project or working with certain tools and things like that.
I'm going to line this one up for Cheryl to shoot down. Customer availability. That is the big one. Cheryl?
Yeah, I mean, it's there are challenges, right? But it's like with every project, right? Once you know what the challenges are, you just work with them. So it's actually day to day. It's just like pretty much any other project. It's because you're aware of what the constraints are, so you just work with them. Right, it's that simple. I've actually found it easier to work in multiple streams using SAFE at MOD with all of the constraints around security and that sort of thing than I have found it to work on projects outside of that environment without SAFE. Right, so in a way, it gives you flexibility within the project to be able to accommodate all of those eventualities that you might come across, right? Oh, dogs are off.
So if you offer the choice, then SAFE MOD every time, then?
I love it. I love SAFE, right? SAFE is absolutely fantastic. It's really, really good for managing multiple streams of work, right?
It does work on these type of projects. Obviously, if you're doing the subs and the big naval cruisers, then obviously it doesn't necessarily work. But in terms of the digital transformation program, it really does, because like I say, you have to offer a little bit out for someone to check it. But in terms of, to answer your security question, I have 23 rules I have to jump through every time I want to make a change. Now, if we bring that back to your Power Apps and your thousands of connectors, I just cannot say to my wider community, I've got those all accredited for you. You can use them. Which one do I pick? Which one's going to change tomorrow? So I have to constantly say, right, what's the demand? Which one am I going to focus my core team on? And they'll all say, me. Army will be shouting, DNS will shout, I want it. Okay, but who's got the biggest demand signal? What's the priority? Where do I put my energy? And then we go away and we go and have a look. We try to preempt, as a core team, we try to preempt what's coming, with your roadmaps and stuff. So at the moment, we're trying to preempt APIs and portals. So then they're there. And what we do is we build them as a pattern and then get accreditation for a pattern on the security side of things. And then we offer it out to the wider team and say, there you go. What do you want to do with that? If you stay within those bounds, it's available to you. But as with always with MOD, someone comes in, COVID happened, we hadn't released Power Apps by then. We swapped all our planning around and we released Power Apps very, very early with a very, very rough MVP. And we've been we've done automated governance, because like I say, we've got 180,000 people that could use Power Apps. We've been adjusting the governance on the way through while people have been actively using Power Apps, which we didn't want to release until we were ready. So you just have to be quick to say, okay, stop that one, move on to this one. But as we say, we're governed by money, so it's a little bit difficult to have an ending team of staff to help us.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
All gone very quiet.
Glad it wasn't just me.
Rob, I think Rob's got a question. Rob, have you?
Oh, yeah. So did you use the Centre of Excellence Toolkit when you were looking into the Power Platform stuff?
Cheryl, did we?
Am I allowed to talk about what we've
Yeah.
implemented?
Yeah, sure. Just keep it high level.
Okay, we've looked at it. We don't. Yeah, we've looked at it, right? So Tisky as an organisation have used it, but we may not necessarily have used it fully for our customers. That's all I can say.
I think Cheryl's trying to put it around is what we can't have the same level of cloud connection that maybe other companies and organizations can have. So apologies and no offense to everyone who said I am the non-techie in this conversation, but we've literally been discussing this in the background, but we can't have things like Azure DevOps, so we can't have the full pipeline. So all the lovely tools that are out there, we can't necessarily have them all. So part of our journey is to work out what can we have, what can we then make use of, and then how do we adjust to suit, because we just can't have the full set of toolkit that the rest of you may be allowed to because of the secure network. We are not, the assurance process is about not introducing any vulnerabilities given who we are. Makes us very special and very awkward.
Wow, that's a unique insight on it. I just assumed it was a given that you'd be using Azure DevOps and stuff, given the scale and the automation needed. So
no,
it's got the cogs right now. What else are you doing?
Yeah, so right now we can't, and that sort of conversation, if we were lucky to get it, I will say lucky, it could be an 8 to 12 month conversation to get it online. So we didn't wait for that. I couldn't tell you what we've done because I've Tisky built it for, but we went with what we've got. We work, as we say, you work with what you know and you build out from there. Maybe if I came back in a year's time and say, yeah, we've got through approval and we can now do it. We've got Mod Cloud, another sister team that are trying to connect using the Azure cloud, and they have Azure DevOps. If they can connect securely to ModNet, then hopefully we can do our dev and test in that platform. But right now we have to manually lift and shift from dev and test into the secure environment. That's all the extra fun we have.
Wow.
Hence the patience and tolerance.
It's a balance, right? It's always balancing. Obviously, we're aware of all the great new stuff that's available, and we constantly have that conversation to say, these are the things that are around that we could begin to talk about. But obviously, we have lots of different layers of security and governance and assurance to pass through before we can begin to utilize, new things, right? And we just have to be mindful of that. But like you said, planning, we have those things always at the back of our minds, and we're always seeking out opportunities to obviously maximize the benefit to mod, right, within constraints.
No, and they can be hard things to maintain, so it's I think it's more of a nice to have at the moment than a staple, easy to put in thing at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you both for answering questions. I think we've answered all the questions that were in the chat, and there's a couple of links in there like scaledagileFramework.com that if people are more interested in the topic. Ryan's dog is yawning, so I'm going to say let's do the spinner where we can win a prize, and then if anybody's got questions about Power Automate, we can stay on. Now, a couple of people have given feedback and have been entered into this prize draw, who, like Cookie and like Ryan, I'm not sure should be eligible for it. This is a course by David Yak, who is a legendary MVP in Dynamics 365. He's the longest, I was going to say oldest, but he's probably not that much older than me, but longest Dynamics 365 MVP. And he does great training courses, and he's just released his training course on Power Automate. So if you wanted to go from nothing to being really pretty good at Power Automate, this is a great training course to do. So this is what we're giving away tonight. He's very kindly donated the course to us. So if I share my screen and hopefully it's presenting the wrong screen, not my email. That one, okay. Can you see my spinner?
Yeah, we can see the spinner.
We're not reading your emails.
All the amazing names on there. Okay, so if anybody's not still on
I'm
the call.
sorry if I've missed anybody. Forms Pro actually wasn't giving me any responses at all, and I had to hack around to get the names out.
So we've added everybody that came through in the last kind of 15 minutes. If you're not on the call, or if you know they've dropped off, I will track you down based on your registration, hopefully, and be able to pass this prize on to you. So, ready for giving it a spin? Yes. All right. Here we go. Who's going to get it? Oh, Joe Griffin. Now, Joe, tell me that you need this course, or if you want to, if you do, absolutely fine. You take it.
I will respin.
Are you sure?
Absolutely sure, yeah. Go for it.
I feel like you might know a little bit about Flow already in Power Automate. But that's very generous of you.
Yeah.
Right, off we go again. Let's wait for Neil Benson to come up this time. Oh, God, I need to reset the wheel. This is all the magic behind the scenes.
You know Joe's going to keep coming up now.
Yeah. If it comes up again, I'm taking it, yeah.
All right, that's fair. Okay, off we go again. This is the little pointer over here on the left. And it is Colleen Hickey. So, Colleen, if you're still on the call.
Call. So excited.
Fantastic.
Oh my
right.
God. I can't believe I won.
Won something. That's a $200 prize. Excellent. Good stuff.
It's not alcoholic, you know. It's just
no.
Believe it.
Maybe booze next time. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my
Thank
screen.
you.
Colleen, I will get in touch with you if you want to just send me your email. I can track you down from your registration, I imagine. But yeah, just send me an email there, and I will send that on to you.
I will do.
Congratulations. Hope it's a great course for you. So, do we want to carry on with any questions around Power Automate and Flow? Have we got any left? I'm just looking through the chat now. I understand people have.
Or any questions about absolutely anything?
Yeah, why not? Well, you know, relate to Dynamics 365 or Power Platform. Better than a speedboat, Rob? Yeah, absolutely. Or a caravan.
I had a question earlier. I think it was skipped on when people are doing these kind of mass flow migrations, whether because I've not been asked by a customer yet, but I'm prepping for when I do get the question, whether I do a mass logic apps merge for the kind of enterprise scalability versus Power Automate that's more the personal automation, and because you guys have actually got a lot more experience than me at doing it. Do you do things and like assign to certain groups? Do you follow certain rules or procedures to kind of, if you were to leave, things weren't assigned to you? And do you know what I mean? That kind of best practice if you were to use kind of a mass exodus towards Flow.
I think for me, it's not necessarily a binary choice between Flow or Logic apps. I think, and it feels like such a fluffy answer, but it's each situation is unique. And so, like, I think if you've got something that's running at scale and needs to be run organization wide, and then Logic apps might be the right answer. I think for any flows that you're running, I would generally try and get them assigned to a service user rather than individual user. I think Flow is great as a personal, that kind of personal automation or kind of personal efficiency type stuff for users to get stuff, although with a note of caution that to make sure they know what they're doing. but I think try and get it to a service user rather than to an individual user. I think it's fine for me. When I build things in my dev environment, I build in my own name. But when anything is deployed to production, is assigned away from me to a user that will persist long after I'm at this organization. Because you know what it's like. You know, we've all experienced it where you're like, oh, let's go and update that workflow. And you're like, oh, that guy's not here. Oh, who's responsible for that contact? Oh, it's a guy that left 3 years ago. And you know, so just in installing that best practice into your organization up front, I think it gets it. I think with going to logic apps, you know, I'm not that great with Azure generally. I'm, you know, relatively familiar. Flow's probably more my comfort zone, and I find Flow's easier to create. But being able to kind of build in Flow and then take that JSON and upload it into Azure, I think it's, again, just thinking about that scalability. It's good at enterprise scale, and for anything that's going to run at that consistent level.
Yeah, so I inherited a system years ago on a support contract, and the person that built a lot of the stuff left, but their account wasn't actually disabled until kind of a couple of weeks in, a couple of months in after we'd taken on the contract, and stuff stopped working. And it was like, oh, it's got to be your problem. And it took us a while, and we realized a lot of workflows were assigned to that person because they'd just been building willy-nilly. And that's the fear with the Flow side of things. And so, yeah, I was wondering from your experience. So it sounds very, very similar with Flows as what you would do, just best practice. Don't assign stuff to yourself and things like that.
It's not new, is it? We've already had that access database that was logged into that guy that died 3 years ago, and that sort of thing, just because we can't change it and people are so reluctant to change. But it's about using the tools that are available to you. COE is an excellent state for that, where you can see who the owners are and migrate that and mitigate that sort of that automatically, that you don't, you know, reassign owners and stuff like that you can do to make that foundation to build on.
So how easy are you guys finding it to work out what's the best solution? So I could imagine if you got a load of workflows already and you'd look at each one in isolation, you'd say, okay, I can do a Power Automate to do what that's doing. But actually, with a better understanding of the application, you might be able to combine several of them into one, and where we can now got loops, maybe I can get rid of a load of them and have loops rather than loads of workflows calling child workflows or whatever. So how easy are you finding that to do, to re-engineer it in a more efficient way?
I think for me, Neil, I go back to the drawing board a lot. So I'm a bit of a process geek. And so I like
go back to the original business requirements.
Reevaluate that. So, you know, I like to draw everything out into a Visio flowchart and think about what we're trying to do then, from end to end in the business process, and then look at where we can do that automation. Because I think if you just look at it in that context of like, here's what the workflow does, I'll get a flow to do that, you're probably missing the efficiencies that you can bring in there. And so it's going back to the drawing board to a certain extent, and just getting that business analysis kind of redone with the knowledge that you've gained over the last, you know, X many months, years, whatever, that these things have been running, and thinking about, well, what capabilities does the platform have, and
do I still need this? What was I originally trying to achieve? What's the right way of doing it now?
Because I think, you know, like I said, I'm in the middle of a migration project at the moment, and we've got, I think at last count, like something like 300 workflows that just aren't going to make the cut anymore, because they're just, you know, they were created to send notifications to people on something or to do something. And actually, if you get your users to log into the system, then I don't need to notify them. You know, it's like the classic is sending an email to somebody to do something, and you're like, well,
my heart sinks when I'm asked to write a workflow to send an email when a case is created. It's like, no, don't make me do it.
I think that I joined, we had so we do anti-money laundering checks quite a lot, and one of the workflows I think has 52 emails logged into it with different kind of workflows, and so, but they're all hard coded, no templates, and so they're like, oh, we need to make a change in all of those. I'm like, well, I'm not making that change. They're either I'm taking them all off, or they're staying as they are, because that's just a nightmare. And thinking about what you would do now, you'd be like, well, I'll create a dashboard for you, or Power BI dashboard, you know, online, or, you know, we'll create custom views for you, or whatever we want to do. But actually getting the users to use the system for what the system's designed for, rather than that workaround. And, you know, now that Teams is kind of there, then saying, well, we'll create a Teams channel and we can use the Flowbot to send notifications to Teams. I think there's more opportunities for efficiencies there if you take a step back and review the business process.
Well, considering how much the platform has changed altogether. And in combination, as you say, Ryan, it's all to a certain degree is going back to the drawing board and then redrawing those processes. Yeah.
Yeah, like we were saying, you don't just replace. Don't replace what's working. Just look at it again and define what your requirement is and move forward. You do that with any migration, whether it's a dynamic system or anything that's out there. You would never just like for like because things change. All those hundreds of fields you've got in your account entity, do you need them? And that's always the case.
Yeah.
Alrighty, folks. I don't think we've missed any questions. I'm sorry if we have. Lots of people kind of dropping off now, but should we call it a night? Thanks very much, or a morning for Neil. And thank you for joining, Neil. It's crazy, isn't it, that we can have a user group and have people in Australia join in almost pretty much real time.
Or from Scotland, equally diverse countries.
I don't know how you're not waking up the kids now.
I got my noise cancelling headphones on. I'm all good.
Is it kids or you?
You finished getting your office soundproofed then, have you?
Yeah. It's all. I've got all the acoustic foam on the wall and everything, so it's pretty good.
Nice. Well, thanks very much. I can just want to say thanks to everyone for joining. Craig's had to drop off, but we'll have another one soon.